Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, Fountain Pen Therapy. Yes, welcome, benvenuti a tutti. Welcome to July the 7th, 2024 weekly recap. What does this recap do? Well, it revisits, if you will, what we've seen during the week in terms of pen trends, news, in paper, notebooks, and inks. And I try to give you some of my own insights as to what I see out there and what I think is worthwhile mentioning. We also will take a look at 3 pen resurrections. In other words, I resurrect a couple of pens that I haven't used in months and sometimes years and put it back in my rotation. And I'll take a look at that. We'll also take a look at the pens I've inked during the week. And we'll do some personal commentary. We'll do some ink hauls. What have I purchased in terms of ink this week? I'll show that to you as well. And what did I purchase in terms of paper and pens? That will be seen as well. So another interesting show. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, so what's in the news in terms of paper, ink, and pens? Well, you know, we're in the summer months, and I've got a feeling things are kind of slowing down a little bit. There's not much to report, but I've managed to find a few gems that I think I'd like to mention. So we'll go to my next camera, and we'll show you what I've come up with. Well, first and foremost, on AliExpress, remember this pen. This is the 1935 Tiandao Jinao, and people didn't like that red one. They've come out with the green, but I noticed they've come out with black as well now. So for those of you who don't like red or green, there's the black. I have not purchased the green or the black. I've stuck with the red because I like the red, but I know some of you didn't. Maybe you'll change your mind, get the pen. It's a beautiful pen. You know, number 8 size nib, etc., etc. And yes, that guitar can be controversial, but if you like a more conservative color in black, well, there you have it. So that's the first one I wanted to mention. What else have I got here? The second one on my list, remember AdMock? And some people said, wow, they came out with the AdMock, what I call the AdMock Duofold. It had kind of an imitation of the Duofold. Then they came out with the AdMock M800, which was almost a copy of the Pelican M800. And here it appears the AdMock M400. I'm assuming that this will kind of mimic or is inspired by the Pelican M400. I noticed that there is a number 5 size nib. I've ordered it. I've ordered this blue one here. And I think I've ordered it with the Schmidt medium nib, if I'm not mistaken, or the broad. I forget which. I didn't go with the normal nib. So stay tuned for that. So I did want to mention that. I also ordered this other pen. This is from a company called Banju. Never heard of them, but I did like what I saw here. And I tried to order the blue. It was sold out. So I've ordered the green in a fine. I should be receiving that sometime soon, but I thought I mentioned that for you. What else have I got for you? Well, in terms of Italian pens, I really think this is a deal. the Nettuno at Applebaum. I think that this is a gorgeous, gorgeous pen, and $170 US. This may very well be something that you should definitely consider. I know I am. I'm hesitating to buy any Italian pens because, as you know, I will be going to in Italy, in a few weeks. So I think I'm going to save up anything I have in mind in terms of Italian, and we'll take a look at it when I'm there. This is Nettuno, so this is Nino Marino. Nettuno, Maiora, and Delta is all under the same roof. So we'll talk to Nino Marino. Maybe he's got something else to suggest when I meet with him in Naples in later July. What else have I got for you? I also, from Goldspot, I got this Leonardo La Piccolina fountain pen, and it comes in various colors, in blue, in kind of a pink, and in this red. The reason why I mentioned this is I've been looking at pens to bring to my Italian pen journey, a pen trip, and some small pens for some of the journaling would come in handy. So La Piccolina, I'm assuming here, especially when I take a look at the size, etc., that this is kind of a small version or a pocket pen version of Leonardo. So some of you may be interested in that. Again, I will reserve my purchases of Italian pens for Italy, but I thought you'd be interested. What else have we got? In terms of ink, Appleboom has got this 1984 George Orwell. I believe this is a brand new. Put it this way, it's the first time I've seen it. And, George Orwell brings back memories. I remember taking a course when I was doing my bachelor's in political science in university, and I took a course on George Orwell. I read each and every book of George Orwell. Some of it was pretty depressing, I can tell you that. But that brings back memories. So there you have it, George Orwell. I may very well order that ink eventually. What else have we got? I think I mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again. KWZ has come out with some glitter inks. I think these are interesting. And at that price, it may be worthwhile. Check out Appleboom. They've got these 4 colors there for you. Next, what have I got? I got Atlas Stationers. They've put up for sale some of these inks. I think these are brand new, or they're new arrivals for them. The Sailor Shikiori Utsu Same, and I think there's a few colors, and this is just one amongst 4 or 5. So there you have another Sailor ink that's up. In terms of paper, what do I have for you for paper? What I found interesting is this Nimousin. Now we know Nimousin, and I'll show you another notebook in just a few minutes for one of my paper hauls. But they've kind of collaborated with Clyde and come up with a grid. You can hardly see it here, but it's a grid version of this Nimousin. Yeah, it doesn't come up in the computer, but yeah. So I thought I'd mention that to you, that this could be very, very interesting. This Nimousin Clyde grid paper. What else have I got for you? That's it in terms of paper. Okay, and very interesting. So there you have it. Yeah. So those are what I feel is some worthy of mention paper, ink, and pens. We'll be right back with the next portion of this recap. Stay tuned. So we're back for the ink call. Now, what do I got for you this week? Well, I've got 3 inks. One is an ink that I'm bringing back, which is Dracula. I did the swatching last week, but I realized one of the viewers told me that this is a shimmering ink, and I was getting a pretty flat cover in my swatch. No wonder I forgot to shake the bottle. So I think I gave you the wrong impression of this ink. So what we'll do is we'll re-swatch Dracula from Waringal with that shimmer. I've also got you this brand new ink from the Earth to the Moon from Waringal. And we got Ink Vent Calendar, purple, last year's Inkvent inks. This is Early Dusk. I'm really excited about Early Dusk because this is the first time that I order these Dieman Inkvent bottles. Wow, very nice. Ordered a few, so now we've got them in my collection. I've been meaning to get some for a while now, and just, one thing leads to another, and you forget what your priorities are. So we're opening up all this. So let's start with Dracula. And there's the shimmer at the bottom that last week I forgot to shake up. So it kind of gave the wrong impression of this ink. And I don't want you to have the wrong impression. You need to have the right one. So we will re-swatch it. First one is with this Ayush paper. Yeah, you can see the Ayush paper. It's got some tooth to it. So the second one is Irreful, whereas this one is nice and smooth. It kind of acts a little bit like Tomoe River. And my base that I always have in all my swatches, it's kind of my litmus paper, if you will, for my tests, for comparison purposes. The last one is Kokyo business paper, and I'll show you that in a second. Let me just complete this swatch. There we go. And we'll just put that aside. We'll do some writing here so we remember what we swatched. This is Dracula. No need to mention Waringal because I don't have any other Dracula inks other than Waringal. Now, just some of you mentioned Irreful, that you did want it in the swatching, so there you have it. This is the way I buy it. I buy it in kind of loose sheets, A5, 75 grams per square meter. So there you have it. That's the Irreful. The Tomoe River, I use Galen Leather's notepad, and the Ayush paper, it comes in a notepad as well. As far as the Kiyono business paper is concerned, it comes in this big pack of, I don't know how many hundreds of pages, forget now, but it's a few hundred there. And that's the paper I use. It's in loose sheets. Very nice paper. So there you have a true picture of Dracula. So what we'll do is we'll let this dry, and we'll come back later to see how that shimmer should pop. Okay, on to the next swatch. We will close this bottle. Let us do, did I clean my nib here? Yes, I did. Okay, so we'll do this from the Earth to the Moon. Here it is. It's got some shimmer or some glimmer or glister or specks at the bottom. So we'll make sure to have properly. There we go. Wow, this is a nice dark blue. Swatch with the Irreful paper. Sorry about that. Straighten that out. Tomoe River. Yeah, Tomoe River is in my view, the smoothest of the gang. And then we have this Kokuyo business paper. Japanese. I think I purchased that on Amazon. There you have it. That's the swatching. Let me just get the name again. From the Earth to the Moon. So there you have From the Earth to the Moon. Let's close this bottle up. We'll let it dry. We'll come back and we'll see what it looks like. Very nice ink. I would say medium flow. Nice and wet, but medium flow. I would think it dries up fairly quickly, especially for a shimmer ink, but we shall see. Okay, next is this Early Dusk. It should be kind of a royal blue, and it's a standard ink, so it's not a... So there you have From the Earth to the Moon. Let's close this bottle up. We'll let it dry. We'll come back and we'll see what it looks like. Very nice ink. I would say medium flow. Nice and wet, but medium flow. I would think it dries up fairly quickly, especially for a shimmer ink, but we shall see. Okay, next is this Early Dusk. It should be kind of a royal blue, and it's a standard ink, so it's not a shimmering ink. Did like the shade of blue that the ads appear to pick up. We'll see if it's reflected in my own swatch. Yeah, very nice blue. Very, very nice blue. And you know, you can't go wrong with these Dieman inks. You know, I had this beautiful ink from Otto Ut. Is it that very expensive pen company? It kind of smelled like roses. Beautiful red ink. Had become one of my favorite. But what I noticed is that it chewed up one of my Joya nibs. Now it's either the Joya nib that is fragile, and I've got to write to Joya and let him know, or it's that ink. The ink looked like it was just absolutely, you know, having a reaction with the nib, and it chewed up all its embossing. So that was terrifying when I saw that, especially a beautiful nib. Okay, let's do some writing here. So this is Early Dusk. There we go. And of course, as we do every week, we will not only swatch, take a look at that ink, but we'll see how it actually writes in the pens that I'm going to resurrect for the week. Okay, so we'll put that aside. And okay, so we're back with our swatches, nice and dry. First of all, this From the Earth to the Moon from Waringal. Very nice ink, I've got to say, when you swatch it anyway. Look at that silver blue, beautiful. Question is, you know, can you write with it? My experience to date has been that it's quite light and chroma ink type. But let's test this. I have it in this 1.5 Rosetta nib and pen. Let's see. Yeah, you see it. kind of comes out very different way. I guess when it dries up, it'll be a different story. But you could see it's got a lot of shading, very light, dries real quickly, and then when it dries up, you get just that silver shimmer in there. But it doesn't give me the depth of the swatch or of the nib on a dip pen, if you will. Okay. But having said that, it is quite an attractive ink. In terms of the papers, pretty equivalent, aren't they? Even this Kokoyo business paper, let me tell you, it's performing just as nice as the Tomoe River and the Aerofil and the Urushi. So maybe it's the ink. We'll see in the other inks to see how it differs. Because if not, it's certainly worthwhile purchase. Okay, so that's one. Here is the Early Dusk from Dieman. You can see it is a little more, well, I think the camera doesn't do justice to the real color because on this Ayush paper, it's a little more royal blue than it is on the others. Tomoe River, good shading. It's got some red sheen. Same thing with this Kokoyo business paper, let me tell you. Very nice. Kind of is mimicking almost to the T the Tomoe River. And then, surprisingly enough, on the Aerofil, I get less of that dark blue and than Tomoe River in any event. Eh? So there you have it. That's the Early Dusk from Dieman. Next ink is, yeah, you could see the Dracula. I did not do justice to it last week because of the shimmer. It came out pretty flat, but as you can see here, on all the papers, on the Ayush, all of them, you get that nice, beautiful silver shimmer. But what I'm amazed is this Kokyo business paper. Really, really nice, almost the equivalent of Tomoe River. So I'm going to have to take a closer look at that paper. Got to tell you. And I'll put it up I'll put the, in the description, just a reference to it so that you have it in case you're interested. So there you have my 3 inks for this week. Hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned for the next episode. Okay, for my pen haul, not too many this week. I got about 6 pens in the pipeline. I've only managed to receive 1 this week, so I only have 1 pen for you. But it is a beautiful pen. So it's this vintage Waterman that I'd like to show you. So let's go to my overhead camera right away to show you this little gem of a pen. At least I think it's a little gem of a pen. Now, let me get it closer to you here. This is a 0512. From what I understand, it's a 12. The 5 stands for, what is it? Is it because it's gold filled? And it's got not a Waterman clip, but what they refer to as a clip cap, vintage style clip. It is not a lever filler. It is a eyedropper. Little finicky, I got to tell you. I had no problems with my lever. My lever filler, I thought, was going to be a pain. Instead, that kind of really went well. But this took a little while to get going. There's the nib. Now, when I got this nib, I said, oh my God, what did I get here? Because I'm not a vintage pen person. You see that curve there? So immediately I said, how am I going to write with that? Is that normal? And in writing with it, now I understand that curvature in the nib and you vintage people, correct me if I'm wrong, is what provides the spring in the handwriting. So that's why you can see some of these calligraphers go up and then the nib springs right back. And at least for me anyway, that's what's providing me that nib. The second feature that I wanted to show you is, you see in that ebonite feed, there are two little cutouts at the bottom. And apparently you see that often. And I was watching an expert, one of the vintage sites, and he was saying he's not quite sure why they're there, but I'd be interested if anybody knows. Especially my friends, my vintage pen friends, and you know who you are, if you can let me know what that means. Am I correct about this nib being springier at that point, and that's what provides that spring, or is this a less flex? Because I can tell you that when I write with this nib, I get a very fine line and almost no flex at all. And I can write with this normally without getting any flex. But if I want flex, then I've got to do this. Oh, now I'm railroading because I probably did too much. And I've been playing with this nib all day. Yeah, it's railroading because I pushed it. Let me just, okay. Okay, here we are. So you see, then it springs back. Down and it springs back. So I get to curve is where I get to flex. So that's why I see these calligraphers, and then they spring back. So I think this is a pen that I have to get used to. So very fine line, and then when I go down is where I get the line variation. And that's why I see a lot of calligraphers get that spring in the handwriting. Now, I'm exaggerating, so I might be forcing this nib, but I think I understand the concept, and it's a question of me getting used to it. And I don't see the shake in my handwriting at all. My hands, oh my God, what a mess. My hands tremble, but not with this, because it's not a free-for-all. So, my God, I think it's leaking everywhere. It's leaking because I didn't put any silicone grease around the edges. But so the verdict's still out for this pen, and you experts can let me know whether or not you see anything unusual. But I've got a feeling that if I learn how to step in and step out without forcing it to the point where it railroads, I could begin to understand how, and I maybe it's not calligraphers, but these cursive calligraphers, I guess, write, because I see there, and then they spring, and this is what this nib does. It's got that spring. Provided, I guess, by that curvature in the nib. In any event, getting carried away, as opposed to this little gem, which frankly I prefer, but this thing gives you line variation. Well, okay, now let's not exaggerate, Vince, but you know, right away. So it's got a little more flex in it, but less spring. It doesn't spring back as much as quick as the other one does. But it gives me more line variation with less of a push or a press. Yeah, pushing it a bit too much, but you see what I'm getting at. In any event, folks, I'm having an absolute ball. And I think I've discovered something which is not good for me, because now I'm going to go out on a binge and start getting all these pens. I've already got a Pelican, what is it, 140, I think? That's a little vintage gem from what I understood from Doodlebud. I got one coming. We'll see what happens. I just finished bidding for another one, another 52, but I got outbid, which is good because the price was too high in my view. But I find that on Katakwiki, we might not be getting the same quality, but so far, so good, you know. And I'm getting good prices. When I compare to, you know, eBay and some of the more specialized, you know, specialized sites, I mean, they're, you know, 500, 600. No, I don't want to go there. I really don't want to go there. But this is convincing me more and more. I mean, I got to clean this pen now. More and more to really look into the Magna Carta. I think I may have to take the dive there. And you know what? I have this fountain pen revolution. Which, in the scheme of things, is really, really nice. I mean, talk about, you know, giving me and very little railroading, and it doesn't cost $600 Canadian. It's $80, and I put it into this Asvine V200, and I'm really having a wonderful time with this pen. So, in any event, there you have it. So, very slim picking, as they say, but enjoyable. So there's my pen haul for this week. Stay tuned for the next section of this recap. Okay, so we're back for the pen resurrection section. First of all, the pens that I resurrected not too long ago, and some of which I purchased and last week mentioned, and that were in this week's pen rotation. There they are. Let me just zoom in a little bit for you. Here you go. I had this 456 pen BBS, this Majon, and I keep forgetting the number. I think it's T5? I forget. Majon pen. I have this Fine Writing International brass pen. I brought back this one, which is the cartridge converter version of the Ongdian D5. It's referred to as D5S. I used this quite a bit this week. Then this beautiful surprise, this resurrected Navlor primary manipulation resin, but with this beautiful 18 karat Ancora Italian nib, which I had forgotten was in this pen, as I mentioned last week. I did review the Sailor Tuzo, so it wasn't my rotation, but I got to tell you, I didn't draw on it that often. And of course, I've got this beautiful little gem of a pen, which is my Waterman 52.5, which I'll show you in just a few seconds, and quite a bit of use again of this beautiful Leonardo Gold Spot exclusive that I reviewed for them, and it's the resin is just gorgeous, and that nib is juicy. It's a broad, and I used it quite a bit. So there you have it. Why don't we just sample that on paper? First of all, let's try this little gem of a pen. I forget if I still have any ink in here. Yes, I do. Wow, let me tell you, I have really grown fond of these vintage pens. I've ordered 2 more, and I'm hunting for more. What a surprise to me. That's not close enough. Here we go. Very, very nice. I mean, take a look at this. You know, it is just, whoop. Very, very nice. I've just fallen in love with these pens. And I've got one more to show you in just a few seconds. This is that Tizu, the Sailor. If you guys didn't see my, you know, with the rotating and adjustable section here, one person said, well, I don't know why they go through all that pain of, you know, making this mechanism. All they have to do is make it round and you don't have a problem. and I thought that was an appropriate comment. You know, why go through all this trouble? But one other viewer mentioned, well, you know, what about children that are learning how to hold the pen, or anybody that's learning how to hold the pen, or somebody who wants to have, I don't know if they have issues with their holding a pen. This is certainly one way to make sure that your grip is right. So yeah, this is the Sailor. Actually, in hindsight, you know, it's not bad. It has that Sailor feedback, but it's not bad. I should have gotten it in broad instead of this, I think this was medium. But it's not as bad as I thought. I just didn't use it all week. Let me just see if this Leonardo still has some ink. Yes, it does. Look how juicy that is. Oh. Yeah, this is it become a goat pen for me. Very, very nice. Then this beautiful Ancora nib. Didn't use it too often, but very nice. It's an Ancora 18 karat medium nib. Yeah, that's the beauty of, you know, good nibs. You just don't dry on you for some reason. So that's the Navlor. And this is my trusty, this week got a lot of action. This is the Hongdian DS5 with that number 6 steel, but very springy nib. Very nice. My Fine Writing International got some action. Not as much as I would have wanted to. There's a lot of ink in there, so I'm going to have to use it. I should have, because it's very juicy. Yeah, it's got that nice big Joe broad nib. And very, very juicy. I may bring it back into my rotation for this week. Here's the Majon. Didn't use it. Forget if it's the T5 or the T2000 or 5000 T something, but apologize for that. This is a medium Majon nib. Very nice, but I had one red pen that I went to all week, which was that DS5. So this Pen BS didn't get a lot of use either, But again, it might get some use on vacation because it has that good filling system that I could, avoid accidents when I take the plane. So this is the Pen BBS 456, but it's got a Noodler's not the triple tail, but kind of a flexi nib. There you have it. So that was last week and this week's pen rotation, if you will. This is what I had going for us all week. Let me show you what I have, the pen resurrection for this week. First and foremost, here it is. Because I have like a cheap pen or a less expensive pen, a medium expensive pen, and then a more expensive pen. Look at that, this TWSBI Go. Very interesting filling mechanism where you just, kind of push it, spring back, and there you have it. This is the TWSBI with a number 5 size nib. And we'll look at that in a second. So that's one. The second one I have for you is this Pen BBS 486. Very nice. It's got that typical Pen BBS standard number 6 size fine nib, I believe. Yeah, fine. So we'll take a look at that in a second. And my more expensive pen is this Bexley. This is just an absolute gorgeous pen. And I know I bought 5 or 6 of them. They're all on sale, many years ago on eBay. I bought the same pen, different colors, different resins. Very nice. It's got that Bexley broad nib, which never fails. Hopefully it won't fail when I demonstrate the writing sample. It's a cartridge converter. It's got very good size. It also posts a little bit too big. It's got just a kind of a perfect weight, if you will, but it's very thick resin, very well made, and it's a Bexley. So why don't we take a look at that? Let me switch the page here. And of course, these pens I filled up with the 3 inks that from my ink haul for the week. I don't like this. Well, I'll do it here. So the red, this red pen has got the Dracula from Waringal. So let's see how this. So this is the pen is the Bexley, and its name is, and let me just check my computer, Prometheus, I think it is. Yeah, Prometheus. And this is in the red swirl. Wow, this ink is really nice. But so is this nib. The nib is a Bexley, which I believe is probably a Yowo. Broad, number 6, steel. And the ink, as I mentioned earlier, is Waringal Dracula. So there you have it. Beautiful. Take a look at that nib. Very nice. It's got the Bexley logo and embossing on it, and I think it's a Yobo nib. At one point I thought it was a Bach, but I read recently that they do have Yobo nibs. So there you have the red Bexley. Next, my Pen BBS 486, and that one has this Dieman Inkvent Early Dusk. That's the ink I've put in this one. So this is the Pen BBS 486 pink purple. The nib is a Pen BBS number 6, steel, standard, fine nib. Very, very nice. Gotta tell you, these Pen BBS pens, I've just forgotten. And I don't know why you don't use them more often. I've got all kinds. And the ink is the Waringal. From the Earth to the Moon. There you have it. Isn't that gorgeous? Very nice nib. Very, very nice nib. Now, I must say that all the fine nibs from Pen BES, I kind of passed them the tines there and kind of spread them a little bit so they gave me a little more ink flow. Because at the time I bought these pens, I didn't like fine nibs. So that explains why this is coming out so medium-like. But you know what? It's going into my rotation. Just absolutely faultless. Okay, let's see what this TWSBI should be. Okay, TWSBIs never fail, but we'll see what this TWSBI number 5 does. So this is the TWSBI Go Blue demo. This ink is kind of coming out kind of dryish and light, much lighter for my taste, but the nib is a TWSBI number 5 steel, and it's a 1.1 stub. Is it 1.1 or 1.4? Or maybe just stub, but it's a stub. I don't like this ink. It's a little too dry for my taste. That's really too bad because I really thought it would. Maybe that shimmer is kind of. Well, I guess you gotta like this kind of lightish, grayish ink. Some people would love this actually, but I'm not a big fan. Yeah, look, I mean, I'm getting that shading, and you're getting the glitter. So, yeah, the more it dries up, the nicer it is, if you will. But just the way it feels, it's coming on a little too dry, and a little too light for my taste. In any event, this is the. Wait a minute. Yeah, I made a mistake here. Okay, here I made a mistake. That was the other one. This is Waringal. From the Earth to the Moon. And the other one is Dieman Early Dusk. So it's not this one. It's Early Dusk from Dieman. Okay, there you have it. Okay, excellent. So that's the 3-pen resurrection, folks. But I just fallen in love with this thing. And I discovered a new channel, and I'll just show it actually on my screen. This guy just writes with his pens, and he's got just dozens and dozens of vintage pens, especially Waterman, and he goes through them all and he tests them, and he writes, he talks, and then he at the same time as he writes, and it gets you going, you know. It just, you know, you just want to write with this pen. It's not a Parker, I'm just writing anything. But yeah, that gentleman reviews Parker pens, Schaefer pens, Waterman pens, and the nib on this thing is just flawless. And I just don't know for the life of me why it is that modern pen companies don't come up with similar nibs. I mean, Magna Carta's done one, which they say is close as it gets to vintage pen nibs, but don't tell me somebody can't reproduce a vintage nib like this one. It's got to be possible. I mean, I can't believe that, modern times, we can't do it. So, I mean, if I was a pen company, that's exactly what I would do. But that's just me. That's just me. So there you have it. I love this little pen. There you go. That's the the pen resurrection section of this episode. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. I certainly enjoyed writing with these pens. And, these pens will find themselves somewhere in my weekly rotation for next week. Stay tuned for the next section. Okay, folks, we're back for a section where we're going to review what I'm going to be posting in terms of reviews or videos for the upcoming week and the upcoming weeks. I did want to mention, I know I've been talking about my nib, a special nib video where we're going to be reviewing the wonderful world of nibs and anything and everything. I've got 10 questions that I want to put to myself and try to answer them. And then you guys can weigh in your comments. And I'm going to do that in 2 parts. It's a work in progress, ladies and gentlemen. I can assure you it's a lot of work. I've got about 200 pens that I'm reviewing, all kinds of subjects, very interesting. And of course, I want to weigh in and give you my proper and intelligent thoughts on each. But I've got a 3rd episode, or maybe we're going to mix it up. We're going to see how we're going to do it. Joshua Lax, a Nibmeister, he and I have been in contact, and he has reached out. He had heard that I'm going to be doing possibly some episodes on nibs, and of course he reached out and he says, Vincent, I'm there. If you want to collaborate, why not? I think it's an excellent idea. We haven't quite figured out what that formula is going to be. He's a Nibmeister, so his specialty is in modifying and tuning nibs. But maybe I'll have him weigh in on the same questions. I will give you my thoughts, and then in a 3rd episode, the expert will come in and maybe contradict and maybe come up with something completely different. I think that could be very interesting. Or, he could have his own episode. In any event, I'm going to have Joshua Lax on one way or another, maybe even in an independent and separate video where he's going to discuss what what is up his alley, which is Nibmeistering, if you will. So stay tuned for that, folks. Thought I'd mention it to you. I put it out there. That way, there's no way back. It's got to get done. It's just a long process, and I apologize for that. We're gonna be reviewing some of the vintage pens in greater detail. We're gonna have the Gioia Capo di Monte finally. I think I'm gonna publish it next week. We have Faber-Castell starter pen video that's going to be up soon, and of course this nib trilogy eventually is going to come up. And those Chinese pens that I've ordered, they may kind of interrupt the whole thing, and those may go up as well, but stay tuned for that. And while I'm here talking about YouTube videos, I did want to shout out a couple of videos, and that is there is one video by Fontaine des Plumes where he reviews a Just Turnings pen from Australia with a sailor nib. I think you should take a look at that. I really believe you should take a look at that, and I may very well consider, because I always find sailor pens too expensive and their body's quite small, unless you get the king of pen, etc. And this could be a perfect compromise. So I got to look into it. I thought a shout out to my friend Fontaine des Plumes. He's got always great videos. And what else have I got in that regard? 1 second. We go, just cutting to my computer. The Wet Pen, Matthew from the Wet Pen, has come with another episode, which is part 4 of his Japan 2024 trip, where he reviews Japanese inks. Great gentleman. This guy can really do a video. He puts together some fascinating reviews, etc. Well recommended. Take a look at this. Hiroshima Inks by the Wet Pen. I think he does a really nice job. And of course, my friend Hemingway Jones, if you didn't catch his live show, has come up with this fine video about my shocking EDC, and let's rummage through my bag. So good original Hemingway Jones. He always comes up with something original. So why don't you take a look at that? I think you'll be absolutely entertained. So there you have it for upcoming videos and YouTube videos. Stay tuned for the next section. Okay, so we're back for some personal commentary. What have I got for you there? Well, in this section and in the last couple of weeks, when I announced my trip to Italy, I said that I would do some planning for that. It's going to be a fountain pen trip. Don't tell my wife. But yeah, I'm going to be visiting stores. We're going to be visiting Nino Marino. We're going to go to Florence, Rome, Naples, several other cities like Barcelona. I'm going to be in Malta. I'm going to be in Sardinia. I'm going to be in Cannes. I'm not sure that those other places have ink stores or pen stores. If they do, I'll find them. But for sure, I'd be in Rome, Naples, and Florence. That's already planned. I know where I'm going there. So in that planning, I need to decide what journals am I going to bring for my journaling, what inks I'm going to bring, and what pens I'm going to bring. I've reviewed the journal part, and as I mentioned to you last week, I'm going to have 2 types of journals. Let me just go to my overhead camera here. 1 second. Here we'll cut. I'm going to read 2 types of journals, if you will. Let me just bring it back here. Yeah, I'm going to have a small journal where, on the fly, brief notes that I could, get into in much greater length at the end of the day or early in the morning. So that's one journal, and I've not decided quite. It's either going to be this one or this B7 journal from Namani Paper. So we're gonna see if that kind of fits the bill. The big journal, of course, is going to be a Tomo River lined version of a journal in this beautiful leather cover. And in my paper haul, I mentioned to you 2 additional journals, which is one, this is a journal I bought for 2022. It is a Ebonici Weeks that I never used. I think I started and then I kind of gave up. I wasn't following up. I think I might what's practical about this is this, nice and thin, much thinner than this. It has a hard cover, and it can't be used with one hand and write with the other. So I'm really seriously thinking about this one kind of stepping back in. If not, there's this new Nemosine, notebook that we just went through in my paper haul, which is kind of a reporter style, and that could come in handy as well. And I've ordered 2 more reporter style, and I thought I wanted to mention those. And let me just go back to my overhead. Here we go. It's this one, a Midori, a reporter style notebook. I didn't receive it in time for this video, but it's on its way, and I'm going to show it to you probably next week. So this could be a very small, very practical reporter-like notebook. The other one I've ordered is this Clairefontaine pupitre. You see it often on Hemingway Jones uses it as a thinner notebook. So I may very well use this one. And do I have one more? No, that's it. So we'll get back to that in a second. So there you have it. That's on the notebook side of things. Now, the next thing I need to decide, of course, is what kind of pens am I going to bring with me. Here's where I'm at. And I haven't quite made up my mind fully yet. And I'm still thinking about how I'm going to go about it. And here are my thoughts. Sorry about that. Okay. First of all, for the small journal, okay, I thought I'd bring with me, and this would be pens that I would bring with me on the go, if you will, and try to look at some more expensive pens and some cheaper pens so that if I lose them, it's not the end of the world. I mean, the first one that comes to mind is this Pilot Vanishing Point. Okay, I mean, this vanishing point is definitely in the picture. Let me just get my notebooks and we'll do some writing to show you what I mean. Here we go. It's definitely in the picture just because of this stub nib that it has. So this is the vanishing point. And the beautiful thing about it is that I can click it, goes in. I don't need to uncap the pen and post it. It's in and out, and it's done and put away, either in a sleeve or back in my bag. So this is definitely an option. And right now it looks like it may be the winner, but we shall see. The other alternative was this fake, I would say, or Vanishing Point inspired Majon. I believe this is the A1 or the A2, I forget now, or even the A3. And what I've done is that I've put in a pen, a St. Pen BBS, I forget what they call themselves. Let me just go back to my computer. It is, here we go. St. Pen PPS Bobby. It's Bobby, He has this grind for a Majon nib. I've ordered this nib, and here it is. So what I did is I replaced the nib that was there with this, what's supposed to be kind of a stub grind. And here you have it. So this is the Majon Bobby grind. Now it is not as juicy, and it is quite thin, not as juicy as my Vanishing Point, unfortunately. So I'm not sure whether this is going to be the winner, but it is an option. And I think that nib is much nicer than the Majon nib that was there, be it extra fine or fine. So thank you, Bobby. So it's between these two. Those are the two main ones. The other ones I was thinking about, because they're not expensive. This is a small little pen, pocket pen. Live in You, L-Y-U or L-U-Y, I forget how they... Live in You, L-I-Y. It's small. It's got a Schmidt nib. Writes really nicely. Posts comfortably. Is a nice little pocket pen. And if I lose it, it's not the end of the world. That's one option. The other option is this Kaweco, I forget what they call it, the Perico, or I forget what they call this one. But it's got a nice nib. So this is the Kaweco. What I like about this nib, it kind of writes broad. Very, very nice, I got to tell you. And again, if I lose it, not the end of the world. Beautiful starter pen. It's going to eventually find its way in my pen resurrection, this pen. Now, I could bring this expensive 1911 with me. It's kind of a smaller pen. So this is the Sailor. You know, because it posts nicely and, you know, it's a nice writing experience. So that's another one that's on my list. I love this Majon P136, is it? I've always liked it. Penultimate Dave, by the way, reviewed this pen this week. I'm glad to see that he finds that this pen is also worth speaking of. So this is the Majon. What I like about this is that you can kind of, you know, twist, and your posting is very nice. It's got a very nice nib. And again, if it gets stolen or lose it, it's not the end of the world, and it's a great writing experience. So that's something I'm considering. I just noticed I spilled ink all over my fingers. What else is new? Then I've got this Moonman. What is it, C2 or C1? The reason why I like this one is you got plenty of ink in here. I can almost use this as a ink reservoir at the same time. Now it's got some red ink in there, but you know, you can put any ink, and it's got a flex nib. It's got a fountain pen revolution nib. So this could be a lot of fun as well. You know, I could have a flex nib to have some fun. And it doesn't post, so that presents a problem. But those are my kind of runner-ups. I would love to bring this guy, but I'm afraid I just don't want to lose this. So it might end up staying home. But we shall see. So those are the pen options for my small journal. For my big journal, I got quite a few that I'm thinking about, and here they are. Most of my are these 630s or 699s? I keep forgetting their number. Yeah, these 699s Wingsung are fun because they're vacuum fillers. So, and with a shut-off valve, I can fill them up with ink. I have lots of ink there, so I could have red ink, green ink, blue ink, you know, all the colors you want for my journaling. I can shut that valve up when I'm up in the plane, and you know, so these three are definitely going to come with me. I can do the same thing with this Asvine V200, and this guy's got a fountain pen revolution. Take a look at that flex nib. So I could have some fun with the flex nib back at my hotel, or in the morning having my breakfast. So definitely I'm looking at that one. Similarly, you've got all these Opus 88. It's not a vacuum fill, but it's an eyedropper, but with a shutoff valve. So this thing is definitely, I got like 4 or 5 of these, and I could just pick and choose the one depending on the nib. This one's got a stipula nib right now. I want to bring this because if I go to Corsani, he's the guy who provided me these stipula nibs. I can mention to him, look, can you give me 5 or 6 of these things, and we'll be set. So this is for Stilografica Corsani, who's in Rome. So she's on the list. You know, we can always bring our TWSBI, because that too has plenty of ink, and it's got a beautiful nib. So a TWSBI is definitely something I have to look at and consider. As the same as for my $6.99, I've got this Wingsung 630 with this beautiful big number 8 nib. which is also something that and it's got one hell of a reservoir. Fill it up. I'm good for, I don't need to bring ink at that point. So she's on my list. I mean, this Joya is on my list just because of the nib, and it gives me a really nice fine line, because it is a medium cursive italic. And I can show Stilo Stile, hey, you did the nib on this for me, So, and Stilo Stile is one of the stores I'll be visiting. The same goes with this 1935 with that number 8 nib, big reservoir in that big converter. And again, if I lose this pen or the 699 or the 630, not the end of the world. And I've got, of course, this TWSBI Echo, which is always in the mix with that big reservoir as well. So as you could see, those are the pens. The only one that is a small cartridge converter is this London Pen Company. The only reason why I want this one is because this has got to be one of my most comfortable pens. And again, it's got that stipula nib, which I would love to be able to show Corsani, and if he can give me some. And I'm going to the stipula store as well, so I can say to him, can you give me some of these nibs? So, that's a toss-up between these two stipula nibs. But those for now, and if I bring these, I don't need to bring any inks. So there you have my thought process. And, will I bring 10 pens, 5 pens, 6 pens? I know the way I am. I got a feeling I'm going to bring more than 6 pens. But, and then I'm working on a little case for pens in my bag on the go. Do I bring 1 pen or do I bring 3 pens? So, I've got some fun decisions to make. And at the same time, I'm enjoying these pens while I write with them and while I convince myself. But those Wing Sungs, I think, are going to do the trick. And I recommend them for traveling, obviously. And there you have it. So, in terms of inks, I'm going to fill those pens up with inks that have a tendency to stay wet and not dry up on me. And maybe we'll review some of those inks and what I would recommend when you go on vacation in terms of, pens that can last, even if uncapped, the nib will not dry on you. And I've got some inks in mind that I would want to review with you in the next episode. Okay? The other thing, of course, is I promised I would show you my camera rig that I've put together to film some of my videos in Italy. So stay tuned for that maybe next week. There you have it. So that wraps up personal commentary, folks. Okay? We'll be right back. Okay, so that wraps up this week's recap. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope some useful information. I hope there was some interesting pens there that we explored together, and some interesting inks and paper. Thank you very much. Please watch the Euro. It's great soccer. Any of you who enjoy the game, of course, are watching. But those of you who are just starting to take notice, sport fans, the Euro, we've got some great finals coming up. Today, Sunday, yesterday, Saturday, and I don't know. I'm filming this partly on Friday, partly on Sundays, partly on Saturday. So I don't know who won and who lost. So I won't venture to say. I'm just hoping Spain goes through. I'm hoping Portugal goes through. I'm hoping England goes through. And I hope France loses. I hope Netherlands lose. And having said that, I don't know who's there and who won't be there. But if you enjoy the game, enjoy your Euros. If not, folks, get out there. It's summer. Walk, play golf, play some sport, or just, hiking in the woods, on a lake somewhere. Enjoy your summer. At least in Montreal, we only have 3 or 4 months, so you can be sure that I'm enjoying mine. Grazie molto, arrivederci, and be well, be good, and fountain pen therapy for all of us. Stay tuned.